A very good morning to you from what is a surprisingly sunny London, just after a bank holiday, which is often the way. It always gets better the moment you have to be back in the office. So, look, a very good morning to you from us. Actually, your webinar today is not coming from London, it'll be coming from Birmingham because it's going to be delivered by Ryan Moran, who is our Vice Principal International over in MPW Birmingham, but also is a bit of an UCAS expert, and I'm sure he'll shamelessly plug the book that he's just written on UCAS applications very, very shortly. But it's so nice to see so many of you today, so gratifying as well, mostly because it means that you're here to learn about what UCAS are doing next in terms of this repositioning or redevising, as it were, of the personal statement. And so, without further ado, what I would like to do is to pass over to Ryan in order to talk you through what is going on in a bit more of an interactive way this morning. If you have questions, I don't know how Ryan wished to take them, whether you would like to do it as you go. If you do, either pop them into the chat function or unmute, come on camera and do ask him directly. Otherwise, we'll have a question session at the end to mop up on anything that Ryan hasn't been able to answer as you've gone through. But Ryan, if I can pass over to you, are you all ready to go?
Yeah, thanks, James. So morning, everyone. As James said, my name's Ryan Moran and I'm based in Birmingham, so MPW Birmingham. So today we're going to be looking at a couple of different things. So just some general updates from UCAS, which affect international students. Looking at the changes to references, which were implemented this year, so the first academic year of reference changes, and then the the changes to personal statements moving forward, and when that will happen. So, as James said, I mean, I'm happy to take questions throughout. There's a bit of interaction, so we're going to start with a bit of a quiz, which I'll link you guys into in a minute. But yeah, if if you've got questions, just type them into chat. I've got chat open, so I can just pick them up as we go through. But I mean, thanks for joining us. I know you guys are really busy, so we appreciate you being here. Right, so yeah, just a bit of a quiz to start, just to get an idea of a few facts about UCAS, the application cycle, and see what you guys know. So I'm going to use Kahoot. So I'm going to put the link into chat for you, and then I'll explain how you join. So I'm just going to stop sharing the screen for 1 second, and I'll copy in the game pin, and then we can get started. So in chat now is a link. If you could use your phones or whatever you want to do, if you can click onto that link, I can then take us into the Kahoot, and I'll share the pin with you. So in chat is the link, you can click on it, and shortly I'll give you the pin to enter. So I'm just going to stop sharing and share via a different method. So this is your pin, okay? So in chat is the link. Click on the link, and then you can just enter this number, put your name in, and you should start to appear on the screen. There we go. So it is working. So I'll just give you guys like a minute, see if we can get 10 people or so in. Fantastic. Obviously, if you can't work out how to join, don't worry, just follow and you can still get involved. Okay, 30 more seconds, see if anyone else joins, and then we'll make a start. And again, you just answer on your phone, so the options will just come up, and just it's only multiple choice, nothing too serious. This is good. Okay, 10 seconds. Okie dokie, we'll make a start. Okay, so UCAS is only for UK universities and colleges. So the UCAS application process, is that just for UK universities and colleges, or can you apply outside of the UK? Yeah, so true, only for UK universities and colleges. There's no option to apply to any any university outside of the UK. Fantastic. An early leader. Okay, question 2. What percentage of UCAS applications are international? So what percentage of UCAS applications are international? So 14% in the most recent cycle. So yeah, 14% of applications were outside of the UK. So from students from outside of the UK. What percentage of students got their first choice offer? So what percentage of students managed to get their first choice university? Yeah, so difficult one. So amazingly, 81% of students got their first choice university. So yeah, a big surprise, and then a figure that yeah, lots of people are surprised by, but obviously a positive for the students that are applying. My scoreboard is not updating, but it will do at the end, so don't worry. We'll see who the winner is. So when will UCAS change the reference system? So I did mention this. So apologies for spoiling this one. So do you remember? So yeah, so for 2024 entry, so UCAS changed the reference system for entry this year. So it's the first year of the new system. Here we go. So when do UCAS plan to change the personal statement system? So what we're going to be talking about today. Yeah, so 2026. So it was originally, so we'll talk about this a little bit more as we progress. Originally, it was supposed to be the 2025 entry. It's now being pushed back to 2026. And actually, word is that it could actually end up being 2027. So it's still up in the air a little bit. But again, we'll have a more detailed chat about that as we go forward. So what is the character limit for a personal statement? So when students are writing a personal statement, what is the character limit? Yeah, so 4,000 characters, including spaces. It's usually around 500 words, ballpark 550 maybe. So yeah, it's enough space for you to get a really good document submitted. There we go, new leader, fantastic. Do you think UCAS provides good support to international students? Okay, so this is me with my advisory board head on. So from your experience with UCAS, either yourself or with your students, do you think it provides? Yes, no, unsure. Okay, yeah. So a bit of a mixed response, which is really helpful for me. And again, something that we'll talk about in terms of the updates, in terms of things that UCAS have taken on board from people to try and make the process better for international students. Okay, so we have our leaderboard, our podium, and a winner. FC, well done. Congratulations. All right, get back. Okay, I'm just gonna go back to sharing my normal screen, get that annoying music off. Give me 1 second. PowerPoint back on. Okay, it's just going to take a second to load up. But yeah, just to give you an insight into some of the things going on, obviously with UCAS and the challenges that students face or can face with personal statements, but also we're trying to give you an insight into academic staff and the reference process and how that's changed, and obviously how that affects both our students and then students internationally. Okay, so in terms of changes for the 2025, so for next year's applications, there's been a few sort of, these are not groundbreaking or anything like that, but just some useful stuff as people who support international students for you guys to note and be aware of. Okay, so I'm not sure if you've ever seen a UCAS form when a student fills it in, but they get asked lots and lots of questions. And as an international student, some of those questions can be more challenging, in my opinion, than as a domestic student. Okay, so the first thing they need to do is just ensure that their application is linked to their centre. So obviously, if they're applying through MPW, if they're an A-level student, they would link through to the A-level MPW section, which would help them with. If they're a foundation student, if they're studying NCUK in Birmingham, London, or Cambridge, they go into a separate application. So they have a different password to enter, and their applications go into a different group. The reason for that is if you're a foundation student, you get support of both the college and NCUK, so you just go into a different group for that. Other things to consider is sort of they're trying to ensure that students classify whether they are an exam-only student, a part-time student, or a full-time student. There's never been an option for them to enter that information themselves, and usually the university would follow up to get that. But now students can get that and make that clear within their application. With the ever-growing number of online schools, again, you've got that option. Do you study in person, okay, or are you studying online? You would be surprised with the number of students now who do attend school online. Whether we feel that's a good thing or a bad thing is probably not to debate today, but yeah, we can put that in there. And then one that really, from my experience, really did confuse students. You used to have to enter your highest level of qualification. So it would have an option for like below honours degree level. But students never really understand what that means. So they're just getting rid of that question because we can see the highest level of study when they enter their qualifications. So it's become redundant. And then finally, again, there's lots of options. So if you've got students from Nigeria, obviously you've got the WIAT qualification. Some of them might have done IGCSE. Hong Kong, if you finished Form 4, Form 5, okay? So depending on where you've come from and what you've done, you have to find your right qualification in order to enter your grades. And they're trying to make that process easier because you've got a list of about 200 different qualifications, and you've probably got 5 or 6 for IGCSE, depending on what year you've done it. So again, students find it difficult to find the actual qualification that they've done and put the accurate information onto their application, which then ends up with lots of follow-up emails from the university requesting transcripts or to send over certificates to prove qualifications. But if UCAS can get this right first time, it sort of removes that extra burden. for the students. Again, if anyone has any questions about anything that I'm saying, please just chuck them in chat, and I'll come to them as we go through. Okay, so English language skills. So again, our students apply with a range of qualifications. So whether it's GCSE, first language, second language, TOEFL, IELTS, which is probably the most common these days, where they've changed the way that there's an approach for this. Okay, so they've moved it into a different section and they're requesting less information. So in previous years, students would have to enter their TRF number, which is the bottom right-hand corner of the IELTS form. So by entering that number, the university would then be able to access their grade via an online system. So it's a TRF number. But again, most students don't know what this is. So unless they've got someone sitting next to them who does know what this is, they're not going to locate that number. So again, they're removing that burden because most universities request a copy of that document anyway. So it's just double entry of data and unnecessary extra input for the students. Okay, so this one is more for the benefit of the university, really. So it's about trying to ascertain sort of fee status and student nationalities. So again, this can be quite complex depending on how long a student's been in the UK. Do they have B&O status? Lots of different variables that universities need to consider when deciding on fee status. And obviously, as a student, it's really important because your fees could increase from 9,000 to 40,000 based on your fee status. So getting this right is important. So UCAS are striving to provide clearer guidance on this, make the process easier for international students in terms of the information they need to enter, and again, also trying to provide some support in terms of issues of CAS and visa information just to try and give students a heads up on what's needed. A new section in terms of where you live. So, I mean, most of the students that I support will be in temporary accommodation. They'll be in KSS, so our student halls, or they'll be in homestay or private accommodation. And there's never been an option to mark it as temporary. Okay, so in terms of your address or where you want your post sent to, you can now actually put in the dates for different accommodations. So you have to provide a number of years previous where you stayed, but also where you will be after you finish your course. So just the option to enter in dates of when you will leave your student accommodation and return to your homeland or back home to your parents' accommodation for the summer. So again, just in terms of communication and making sure that students are getting the right information. And then, yeah, dates are very similar again. This year was a bit weird because of a bank holiday, but submission dates for UCAS applications have gone back to sort of where they were before. So the advisors portal opened yesterday, and then students can start applying from the 14th of May. So in 6 days' time. I know with our year 12 students, we start the process with them in the last week of term. So that's going to be the 10th of June, where our first applications will start being made. Obviously, if you support competitive courses, early applications, so dentistry, medicine, vet science, Oxford, Cambridge admissions, then those guys will be working towards that early deadline again, so the 15th of October. So again, it's imperative that any student looking to apply to one of these courses is preparing over the summer. So personal statements, obviously if they're taking UCAT exams and things like that, yeah, making sure that they're preparing fully. It's important not to underestimate the weighting of things like UCAT and personal statements when you're applying to those competitive courses. You don't have the currency, you don't have the grades, the final grades. So you've got to prove another way of, oh, why can you make me an offer? Why should you make me an offer? I don't have grades yet, but I do have this. Okay, so yeah, use the summer to get those things done. And then the equal consideration date is the 29th of January. Okay, so for all other courses. Okay, so yeah, so as I said earlier, academic references changed this year. Now I'll share. I know there's lots of information on these slides. I know it's quite small, so I'll share this PowerPoint with the international team and they can distribute it. But I just wanted to give you all of the information, and then obviously I'll just summarize it as we go through. So UCAS found that there was a disparity in the level of support between probably private and state education in terms of the quality of references that students were being given. Okay, so in essence, they probably felt that the independent sector or students in the independent sector were getting an advantage because of the level of support. So UCAS have tried to even the playing field by making the content of the reference easier, more descriptive, and breaking it down into sections. Okay, couple of reasons. Again, as I said, even the playing field, but also to reduce the burden on the person writing it and the amount of time that goes in. Okay, so I'm probably responsible for 40, maybe 40 references, which is quite a small number in comparison to some state schools where a head of sixth form might be responsible for 400, 500 references. You think about that challenge, he's not going to have the amount of time. It's impossible that I have to write those documents or to personalize those documents. So UCAS have recognized that, and they've tried to make changes to help it. So this is what they did. So they break it down into three areas. Okay, so we can see here a general statement about the school or college. So the first section of the UCAS reference is literally just a copy and paste for every student. So if they're an A-level student, they are studying at MPW Birmingham, doing A-levels. MPW Birmingham is a small school, blah, 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 blah. Okay. If they're doing NCUK, which I'll show you an example in a minute, then you have NCUK's mini statement about what they do. The second section is extenuating circumstances. So has anything happened that could have affected your ability to get the grade you need for university? So for most students, this is going to be blank, okay? But for some students, it could be an illness, which meant they've not been able to attend college. It could be that they need further maths as part of their university offer, but their school didn't offer further maths, so they couldn't take it. So you could put that context in that section for the university to consider. Could have been a death in the family, or lots of different things that you could put in that box. And then box 3 is basically your reference. It's what we did before, but you just get less space to do it, so less characters to use. So strengths of the student academically, personally, you would put some predicted grades in there to see what they've achieved, what you think they're going to achieve. Okay, so in essence, they've replaced what was a free text approach with 3 structured sections. So why did they do this, or why did they think it was beneficial? So to give advisors built-in clarity and confidence, they're providing the right information. More time and resources allocated to students, so trying to reduce the time burden by giving them more structure. And it's supposed to make it easier for universities to find information such as the context of the school and extenuating circumstances. So in previous years, this information may have been hidden in the body of the reference, but now it's the universities can clearly find where it is. So I know you can't see this that well, but again, obviously I'll share this information. But this was like a traditional, so pre-change reference. So yeah, the student from Nigeria, I've edited it a little bit, okay, but you can see you've got the context of what they're studying, the subjects, their desire to study at university, a little bit about them, and then their predicted grades and the subjects that they're studying. What we then try to do is to give an insight into the student's strengths in those areas. So what they're good at in business studies, economics, maths. Okay, this is an NCK student, so they do an English qualification, so their strengths within that too. Now, this is where we can be clever, because if you have the time to invest in this, you can look at the courses that they're going to firm and insurance. You can look at what they're going to study and the modules on those courses, and then you can look at what they've done on their A levels or their foundation and that content. You can see what's comparable between what they've already learned and what they're going to learn, and then you can obviously link their strengths within the subject to what they're going to be doing at university. This is where someone in state school who's doing 400 of these obviously wouldn't have time to do that, but if if you've got a smaller number and you get to know the students quite well, then you can obviously provide such information. Then final paragraph is sort of extracurricular. So what have they done outside of school? And again, looking at what they're applying for. So this student's applying to sports management. What have they done outside of school that's helped them in pursuit of that application, and what skills have they got from that? So if I'm going to say that this kid's been doing extra sports, well, what did he learn from that? Did he improve his teamwork, his communication skills, his ability to work with others, his ability to lead? You always want to have a skill linked to what they've been doing, and not just a list of generic points. Okay, so this is traditional, and then this is what it moves on to. Okay, so this is a different student. Now you can see, so establishment details. So this is the NCK blurb. So this student's undertaking the Northern Consortium UK qualification and NCK accredited study centre. For further details of the program and NCUK, please see. If students, so with NCUK, if students are applying to an NCUK partner, then the university is going to know about the course. But the course is also accepted outside of NCK partners. So obviously this gives the university the opportunity to go and have a look at the qualification to ensure that they're going to accept it. The majority do, or they come to me or the personal tutor for more information, but this just gives them the option to do it themselves. As I said, the majority of students will have a block or nothing in terms of extenuating circumstances, and you can just click no information to enter. And then, as you can see, I mean, how is it different? It's not that different. Yeah, you can still represent that student in the same manner, but just in a slightly shorter. So instead of 4,000 characters, you get about 3,600 characters to represent that student in the best light to the university. So when I say, well, what's different? Well, the main thing really is the clarity to university in terms of where the student is studying, and then making or highlighting the extenuating circumstances to make it easier for the university to access this information. Okay. Okay, so yeah, there's no changes for 2025 to personal statement. So this was originally the plan, but was pushed back on, and now we're thinking it's going to be 2026. However, this could be further pushed back to 2027. I think I'm attending a meeting in about 6 weeks where I should have some clarity on that. So again, once I know, I can update the international team who can pass that information on. All right, so personal statements as they stand at the moment. Again, this is slightly edited. It's not a final draft, so but it gives you a good idea of what a personal statement looks like, or should look like. Okay, so you've got your 4,000 character limit, and it's a working document. So if a student comes to you and says, "Oh, my personal statement's done," and they've not showed it to anyone, it's not done. Yeah, it needs to be an editing process between them and their tutor, their parents, their siblings. Okay, just to try and get it to a standard where we're going to get those offers. Okay, I just want to give you a little, because obviously they're not changing yet, so I think it's good just to look at what a good one is now, because we've got at least another year of them like this. Okay, so the first paragraph for me is the most important aspect of any personal statement. Okay, if you read one that opens with like when I was a child or growing up, yeah, please just delete it and get rid of it, because yeah, universities are really fed up of reading that sort of stuff. So especially on like medicine and dentistry applications. I mean, growing up, my grandmother was sick and I spent time at hospital with her and the nurse and doctors. Yeah. Okay. Sorry to hear that, but I've read it 2,000 times. Okay. You need to open with something that is different, that makes you stand out. Okay. So if it is medicine, then find something interesting. Like look at the top 100 innovations in medicine in the last 5 years. Do some research on one. Find out something that's not everybody knows and open with it and show your understanding of it. It instantly shows that you've done some work, you've done some research, and actually you do have an interest in that area. It is okay to bring in personal experiences. I've got no problem with people bringing in personal experiences, but don't throw it in your first 2 lines, okay? Because that's what everybody does. If you want to bring in personal experiences to show empathy and things like that, or during your work experience you experienced this, that's different, yeah, because you were in a professional environment and you learned this, you saw this, you developed this skill. Yeah, fantastic, but yeah, not back to when you was a child. Okay, so this one's all about AI. So AI is obviously, we know, is huge at the moment, and lots of students are now switching their attention towards this area. So really good opening paragraph with something innovative that the university or the person reading it might not have read before. Then how have you tried to develop your understanding outside of the classroom? Okay, in your reference, it talks about what you're good at in maths, physics, chemistry, whatever subjects you're doing. But your referee hasn't had the scope or the space to write about everything else that you have done outside of school. So if you've done a course for Python, if it's a medical student and you've worked in 3 hospitals and you've done your this amount of work experience, if you're applying for sports management and you've been volunteering as a coach in a local school, whatever you've been doing, these things are great. Yeah. It shows that you've given up your time, you've got out of bed, you haven't been playing the PlayStation or Xbox all day. Okay. And it's what universities want to read. They want to see something different, like that they haven't read already this week. Okay. So anything that the students have to show that is really important. Okay, so this student attended a course where they built AI and developed software. They worked on robotics. Yeah, interesting stuff. Again, achievements. Yeah, anything that you've achieved. If you've done the maths challenge and you've got a certain award, if you were a prefect or in a position of leadership at school, although these things are quite cliche, they're good. Yeah, not everyone was a prefect at school. Not everyone led the school council. Okay, it shows that again you went above or beyond in your behavior, and you wanted to make a difference. So really, really, really important things to get in. But I would touch upon academics. Okay, so obviously, if you're doing an application for Oxford or Cambridge, it needs to be really academic. Yeah, we need to have research in there. We need to have really academic content because you're showcasing, yeah, your ability to go on to that course. So there is slight variations depending on what you're applying for, but in most cases, a mix of why you want to study that course, some academics in terms of what you're good at, work experience, personal experiences, and anything that sells to the university that you're a good candidate. Okay. And common sense, you need to fill the space. If it's 4,000 characters, don't submit below 3,800 because if you can't write 4,000 characters about why you're a good candidate for the university, maybe you're not a good candidate for the university. Okay, so try to fill the space, because yeah, it will be looked upon. Okay, why have they not written enough? Why are they not selling themselves if you don't use the information or don't provide them with that information? Okay, so the proposed changes. Okay, so these are not concrete, okay, but this is what is being presented at the moment in terms of what we think is going to happen. I realize I'm doing lots of talking, so this is like an opportunity for, obviously, for you to send some stuff over or see what you think. So
Right.
motivation.
Can I ask you a question very
Of course,
quickly?
can, yeah.
Why is the proposed changes taking so long to come through, just from all the meetings you go to? Is it because there isn't a general consensus of opinion that this is the way it should be done? Is it because there's no confidence in the proposed changes?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I don't think they've really decided whether change is needed. I mean, if I'm honest, I don't know whether change is needed. If you speak to students and they buy into the personal statement process, they get it. And yeah, we could give them 6 boxes to fill instead of giving them free text, which is what it's probably going to move towards. But the effort that you put into filling those 6 boxes in comparison to the effort you put into doing 4,000 characters of free writing it's not going to be any different. But again, it's just like with the references, it's trying to even the playing field between state and independent schools, and that's the agenda that they're working towards.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first one, motivation to study. Just anyone, just 30 seconds. What type of things, if you can put something into chat, help me out. What type of things do you think would be writing in that box? So motivation for the course. Anyone got anything? If you were doing a personal statement and they're asking you for motivation for a course, what type of things are you writing? Or what do you think you should be writing? Thanks, Chris. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So where is this going to take you in the future? So in 5 years' time, where do you want to be? Are you doing a law degree? Are you hoping to be a barrister? Are you hoping to be a lawyer? Okay, it's really good to get those aspirations down there. What you want to study and what have you done to research it? Brilliant. Yeah, you need to show that first paragraph. Okay, what have you done? What have you learned about? Okay, and how is that now driving you to pursue this really expensive degree in the UK that you've got to pay for? Why do you want to do it? Good. Yeah, and this one, advancing the field in your home country. I see this lots, and it's not one of those things I say don't do. I think it's good. Yeah. So I work with lots of students from Nigeria who will want to work in law, or they'll want to do something in that area and then take that back home, and they talk to me about the legal system and probably injustice that they've seen and how they can make a difference. And yeah, stuff like that's great. Personal and academic strengths. Yeah, brilliant. And how they then work in terms of the course you're applying for. There are some notes on this as we go forward, but I think it's just good to get what people think. So how prepared are you for the course? So how has your learning so far helped you to be ready to succeed on these courses? What do we think this section is? So think about the personal statement before, preparedness for the course. What do we think we're going to be putting in this area? 30 seconds, any ideas? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So both books, wider reading, work experience is good. Your academics. So this again is your chance to show that you've got knowledge from your previous study that's going to be beneficial for you at university. Yeah, brilliant. Volunteering, school projects. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so anything that has helped you especially if it's a really practical course like medicine and dentistry, where you're going to be doing a practical job. Okay, how have you prepared for that? And again, I won't do the same for this, but preparation through other experiences. Okay, so again, this could be attending university webinars or going to extra courses, doing extra reading. Back to our AI example, taking a programming course, developing an extra skill. Okay, then extenuating circumstances. So obviously we've just seen that your tutor or the person doing your reference has the opportunity to do this. Now, I never get my students to put extenuating circumstances in their personal statements. We would provide a separate letter that we would then send directly to the university confidentially to the 5 universities they've applied for. I think if you're trying to put extenuating circumstances in a reference, in a personal statement that's 4,000 characters long, it's impossible. Yeah, because if you're telling the university about it, it's going to be something that you feel is going to make a difference. So you want to explain it in a much greater way, and then rather than throwing it in your personal statement. So for me, this is an interesting one. So at least with this, you would have a separate space to do it. And my understanding would be it would not contribute towards your word count, so your maximum word count. So this probably is a positive one. Okay, preparedness for study. So what have you done to prepare yourself for student life? Our internationals have an advantage here because the majority of them have already studied abroad. They've already been living independently in accommodation. They've developed those schools, things like summer school. Yeah, so anything that they've attended, that would be good to write about in that area. Okay. And then preferred learning styles. I'll touch base on this with some pictures in a little bit, just to give a bit more of context. So I'll move forward and we can talk about that. But yes, how will it be different? Well, as you can see, it's quite confusing. It's interesting in terms of the approach, and it hasn't yet been decided. So until we've got something concrete, it's difficult to say exactly how it will be different. But just some points for each one. So motivation for the course, similar to the opening paragraph, okay? So something interesting, something unique, which has persuaded you to go down that area. What inspired you to want to pursue that area? Avoid phrases which we talked about earlier. Look at some research articles, something unique that initially drew your attention towards this area. How will this study help you move forward within your career aspirations? So things that we've touched upon in chat. Preparedness for the course. So outline of the content the student has covered that is relevant for the course. So it's matching their study now to some of the units they would study at university. And again, taking the time to actually look at that course. If you're doing business management at the University of Nottingham or the University of Warwick, there are going to be different aspects to that course. There's going to be unique aspects that you could pick out and talk about in your personal statement. It could be a module on corporate social responsibility that Warwick are famous for. If you can pick that out and show your skill set within that area, again, it's going to differentiate your personal statement from the thousands of others that they see. Preparation through other experiences, so extracurricular, clubs and groups attended, and any positions of responsibility that that student has had during their education or outside of their education. Okay, and the extenuating circumstances boxes. So any challenges faced during study, reasons for incomplete qualifications, or personal struggles or events. So for me, they're all important, but for our students, the reasons for incomplete qualifications could be like a pivotal area just to explain context. So I work with students with very different backgrounds. Some have finished compulsory education in their home country, some haven't, and there's reasons for that. Some will have 3 GCSEs, some will have 11 GCSEs, and there's reasons for those gaps. So having the opportunity, or the student having the opportunity to give context to the university for why they have 5 GCSEs instead of 11, often because they just did them in 1 year, at least helps the university to make a fairer decision on the application. So I think that is, if of any of the changes, I think that will be the most beneficial to the students that we work with. Preparedness for study. So again, travel, summer school experiences. Our students on the whole have already studied abroad, but also just look at the city. The amount of students I talk to and they say, oh, I'm applying to Manchester, first choice there. Have you ever been? No. Okay, well, maybe go and have a look. Yeah, because although on paper that might look like a great university for you, you might not like that city or the environment. So that needs to again come across in your personal statement, that you have some research into areas of study or places or regions, depending on where you're applying. Okay, there's something that is really different. So preferred learning styles. This is something that's never really been asked or considered in personal statements. I mean, I would not have a student say they prefer to do coursework over exams or like within their personal statement, but obviously it is important. Yeah, you can find business management degrees where coursework is weighted much higher than exams, and vice versa. So working with foundation students who have coursework, it's really easy for me to pick up, wow, this student is good at exams, this student is good at doing extended written prose and is brilliant at writing 3,000 word pieces of coursework. So actually, if they go to university on a course that's 60% coursework or 60% essays, they're going to get a really good grade. But if they go to a university that's 60% exams, their grade is going to be lower. And actually, the classification at the end of the degree is the same, whether it's a coursework heavy degree or an exam heavy degree. Okay, obviously there's going to be variations depending on what you're trying to study at the end, but there's definitely an opportunity to find a university that's more suited to your learning style. I mean, this is just generic stuff and maybe not that relevant to personal statements, but it's also just helping students find that right university. So you might have a student who's is pretty good, but they need support. They need guidance. They need to be able to speak to people to get help. They're not that independent in their approach. And we all know that certain universities are more supportive than others. Yeah, some is very independent. If you don't understand, then you need to go and find that information yourself. Usually your top universities, whereas actually you could still go to a Russell Group university, but one that offers more things like workshops, more group work, more seminars, rather than just really lecture driven approach to education. So yeah, it's about having that insight and trying to help students, then matching their learning style to where they want to apply and getting that across within their personal statement. Right, so I know that's a lot of information. I hope it was useful. I'm more than happy to take any questions if anyone has got any. Obviously, feel free to just shout out or just chuck them into chat if there's anything you want clarity on or advice or anything really.
Ryan, I have one.
Thanks, mate.
In the grand scheme of personal statements, etc., is the Oxbridge one changing? If we're trying to level the playing field, etc., are they dumbing that one down as well without trying to say they're dumbing it down?
Yeah, it will be in exactly the same. So you'll be given the same boxes to complete, and again, it will be just how you can differentiate yourself and make your application, your statement stand out. So it'll be making the most of the boxes that where you can show off the most. So motivation for the course, preparedness for the course, and preparation through other experiences. I mean, in essence, that's your personal statement. The other stuff is extra things that are being collected. It, I mean, we all know in reality it doesn't really even the playing field, because if I'm going to help, or we're going to support a student with a 4,000 character one, we're going to support them and help them to complete the sections in a different format. So yeah, it's interesting that they're trying to do things, but whether it works or not, I'm skeptical.
And sorry, I'm probably asking you to clarify things that you've already clarified throughout the course of this, but at the moment you have 4,000 characters with spaces, and we know that that's sometimes a challenge for some, sometimes easy for others. In this new system, under the proposed changes where you've got the boxes, are they all word counted? Are they all character counted? Are we still looking at 4,000 characters?
Yes. So again, this is up in the air a little bit. They're looking at having different character limits for each box. So and there's been talks of it going to 5,000 max. I don't think it will come down, but yeah, there's going to be limits to each area. So if you've obviously used, there'll be an overall limit and then a sub limit for each area. So if you've used too much in one area, it could then minimize how much you can put in different areas. But there was, when I went to the last meeting, there was about 5 different scenarios that they presented and they asked for opinions on. So they haven't decided themselves, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I rather suspected that might be your answer to that one. In that sense, I won't monopolise questions, but I do just have one other within there, which is this idea that you have to state what kind of learner you are, whether it's coursework led, whether it's lecture led. We've always said with medical students, that that's research you should do from the outset to know which type of medical degree you're going towards, and then it becomes part of your application. In fact, you've researched it. What is the benefit really to saying that now? Surely that's self-identifiable in that respect, and should demonstrate you've already looked into the course beforehand.
Yeah, I suppose again, it's just it's left. Keep saying it, it's left in the playing field, and it's making people do it. So maybe people who don't have the guidance or the support, or are not being told that they need to tick these boxes and do these things, having these boxes that you have to complete sort of forces you to do it. I mean, if you've got a really good student, yeah, I agree. They know how they learn best, 100%. Yeah, I could have one here and they could tell me exactly how they revise, how they pick up information, what teachers they like the best because of their approach and how they present. And then we could look at that and look at university degrees and look at how courses are taught. But some students just wouldn't have a clue. They really wouldn't know how they learn best. And I suppose it's making them think about it and then trying to get them to be more prepared for the next level of study after considering sort of their approach. And again, I've seen examples with students in year 12 who, once we recognize how they do learn best, their grades absolutely shoot up in year 13, because we can change our approach and give them that support. And I think it's trying to just get that in place before university to increase chances of success.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
Do we have any more questions for Ryan? I've rather held him to account as UCAS the entity there, so apologies, Ryan. But does anyone else have any other questions they'd like to ask? It would appear, Ryan, that I think you've answered it all, unless something's come through on chat. No, just the thank yous coming through, and rightly so. Ryan, thank you so much indeed for your time this morning. It's valuable. And actually, it's so nice to actually have someone who's taken the time to understand it and research it properly, to actually not only be able to give out to everyone else, but also to be able to give out to our internal staff as well. So we're all following and singing from the same hymn sheet on that particular one. So thank you very much indeed. If you have further questions for Ryan, you can always email us at NPW, to the regional manager that might be in charge of your particular region, or directly to Ryan himself over in NPW Birmingham. But for now, Ryan, thank you very much indeed. To everyone who joined us, thank you for your time this morning as well. Hopefully it was useful. Hopefully you took a lot from it. We are now a quarter of the way through at the end of this, the May webinar series. And next week, we have a particularly informative session on visa and compliance as well. So do join us next Wednesday morning But for now, enjoy the rest of your weeks, and hopefully it remains as sunny as anything. Ryan, thank you, and everyone have a
My pleasure. Thanks, guys. See you all later. Have a good day. Bye.